Hi, my name is Larry, and I want to talk to you about the most effective alternative cancer therapy that I know of. All right, this is Larry. I have Kay Lynch on the phone from Virginia, and she has a story to tell. Go ahead, Kay.
Yes, I had always worked toward a holistic effort in my family and used some alternative methods when either the medical community pretty much dropped the ball on whatever condition it was, or on something that just made total sense to me. I did follow common protocol with my dog, and unfortunately he over time had developed nasal cancer. He had been shaking his head. He seemed a little lethargic. He was sneezing a lot, and I thought he had allergies, which he's diagnosed spring and fall here with allergies. So the vet kept telling me it was allergies. Ended up, after some investigation, he had nose cancer. And the vet pretty much said if I didn't want to do chemo and pursue it further with a specialty doctor in veterinary medicine, that I would just need to bring him back when it was time to put him to sleep. So, of course, I went home, I read everything I could, and everything I read about nasal cancer said deadly, deadly, deadly. I also read about chemotherapy, and it just seemed like a horrendous thing. I mean, people would put pictures of their dog on the internet, you know, and how it was going downhill, and then they gave it chemotherapy, and it was $5,000. It was horrible amounts of money, and then they say, oh, well, Fluffy's this, and Fluffy seems to be better, but, you know, some hair loss or whatever. And pretty soon, Fluffy has lost all the hair around its eyes, and then you see Fluffy died in this story. I mean, I never cried so much as I cried reading the pet stories. I did come upon, after a lot of investigation, Larry at Essence of Life, who I called and relished everything he said. And of course, he, like Larry always says, if there is life, there's always hope. So I, of course, put my dog on that program, but I had also, in the meantime, changed all of his diet. He went off commercial food. I made him everything from scratch. I tried to do organic. I read exactly all the types of vegetables that you need to stay away from with dogs, but then I included everything else in his dinner. Mainly he had chicken or fish with quinoa, and then vegetables like sweet potatoes and snow peas and carrots and a little seasoning, but no garlic or onions, broccoli, things that dogs are not supposed to get. So diet was, of course, my number one change, and I'd done this on my own before I met Larry. I also took him off of any vet medication that he was on, as far as there's so many vaccinations. If you drink out of streams in the area, you have to have an inoculation for that. A vaccination for ticks, fleas, heartworm. He had a bordello vaccination, everything. I took him off. I ordered him an amber collar online, which is a less chemical method for fleas, and I just thought if he was going to die, he might as well not be on all this other medication, which I consider questionable anyway. He loved his new diet. I mean, it was an awesome responsibility for me to pick out food and cook it for him every day, but I did do that. And as soon as I did talk to Larry, I additionally added the medication from Essence of Life. I did, in the course of treatment, also see our vet on a regular basis to have things such as the electrolyte potassium levels checked to make sure that as a cancer patient he wasn't backsliding and that I did not need to adjust those levels. I think the other person that I consulted with was the Syracuse Cancer Institute with dosages and such for my dog. were very helpful, emailed or texted me every single dosage and amount, and all the products always arrived on time. I was very satisfied with the help. Larry seemed to be very willing to help, invested in my animal's care, and I just thought I'd give it my all. He is a dog. He cannot speak. He does not know what to tell me. So I thought if he has something, I might as well throw down with the situation and see what I could do, and maybe it would help a family member in the future. I also have something called a Rife machine, so did use a Rife machine in the beginning of the treatment, which I later discontinued just because he did seem to show so much improvement with the Essence of Life products. He was on full treatment for several years. I'm now on a maintenance program with him, and he seems to be so much better. I mean, in the beginning, he would just sneeze or shake his head and blood and clots, and skin would just come out. I mean, I thank God and, of course, Larry that I did get him started soon enough, since I can't emphasize enough that on the internet it said it was deadly, and apparently you do lose the contents of your nose and it spreads very fast. But with him, he did go to the vet early for a diagnosis, so I am happy with that. He could just sit sometimes and the blood would just run out of his nose. It was a pretty pathetic situation, but at this time, as we are speaking, he is pretty much blood-free and has been blood-free. That seemed to tighten up quite quickly. Of course, every time he shakes his head or sneezes, I worry that he's got something back, but I'm very hopeful that he, at his age, which is 11 and a half years old, seems to be very happy and healthy. He uses his nose as a working nose, and he sniffs for voles when we're out walking, and, of course, follows that with a quick dig, and tries to unearth these. So I know his nose is working, and I know the blood has ceased, and I know that he is so much better. And like I said, I am very grateful that the dog has turned around and that he is heading in a healthier direction. I do visit the vet still, and of course when I go to the vet, they're like, well, now that your dog seems better, you need to put him back on his other medications. He needs to get back on rabies. He needs to get back on these other medications, which I really would leave that up to anybody else to decide. But in my case, my dog is older, and he does not frequent any boarding places, and he is not around any other dogs except when he does go to the vet. So I am going to just say no to that. But like I said, I am not the person that should tell you you should stay on other pet medications. But in our case, our dog will not be going back on any of those things.
You were telling me something about his ears.
Yeah, his ears had always been a problem with allergies, which is why I kept thinking that he had that condition when it ended up that it was nasal cancer. But he still pretty much persisted when we'd have pollen in the spring or leaves in the fall. And of course, this year he got it again, and I was always on a medication from the vet, which were drops, which I would rub on the inner flap of his ear and then put on the ear canal area, and then use a Q-tip to try to clean it out. And every time I go, it's the same thing. He's been on them for years. So I can't imagine that they're, number one, still effective. Number two, I could see that he wasn't ever rising above the condition. So this time I brought him home with the drops, because the only other alternative they could give me is a stronger antibiotic type ointment and drops that would cause possible hearing loss. With all of his issues, I couldn't go down that road. So when I got home, I was like to my husband, I'm going to go ahead and try to use the silver nitrate that I got from Essence of Life on his ears. So my husband and I worked as a team, of course. Although the dog's so used to having medication in his ear, he's not extremely belligerent. But we rubbed the liquid, the silver nitrate, on the flaps of his ears, and then I would put it on the Q-tips, and I would swab the Q-tips down around in his ear canal. And almost overnight, because we had done that early evening, almost overnight the next day, his ear flaps it was almost like a black rubbery substance, which I guess is a symptom from his allergy situation. It was a little bit of it almost looked like dirt, but it was kind of stuck on there and kind of rubbery. But it had cleared up so much. He still had quite a bit of residue, probably wherever I'd missed, and maybe down in the cruxes. Dogs have so many little folds in their ears. And, of course, I didn't want to reach too far, being a little timid about that. And the thing had really cleared up so much. So night after night, we did the same thing. And it's the only thing, after all these years, that I've been able to say that has made a difference in his ear condition. So once again, thanks to Larry and Essence of Life, I think that silver nitrate, which is an antibiotic, is helping my dog and has been helping my dog. And I expect the condition to hopefully clear up. At least I'll know what to do when he gets it in the spring now. And like I said, I'm very grateful for that help and that relief from my animal. But he does seem to be on the mend, and my husband and I are quite surprised. And when I tell people, I think they think that I'm a little bit crazy, and maybe that's true. But I mean, I cannot argue with results. I mean, my dog went on a farewell tour to visit my daughter, who was his former owner, and other people whom he had been acquainted with, dogs and people from other states, just because I was told for sure that he would die. So he is now here, and he did get a lot of cards and letters, and I think a lot of people are happy for him, and I, of course, am the happiest.
Well, that's a great story, and we really appreciate you, and I want to get this on the internet so other people can maybe benefit from the information you've given them and stuff. But I really do want to thank you for what you've done for your pet and for us. So, thank you.
No problem, Larry. I appreciate everything that you and your company have done to help me. And of course, if any of us need anything, I am going to run it by you.
Okay.
2 doctors in the family, I'll be running it by you. Thank you, though.
That says a lot, and I really appreciate it.
Yep. No problem, Larry. Take care.
All right, you too. Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.